there's one other kind of relationship inside a quad. And it's not between pairs, but it's either seeing things as four independent units that stand alone, or as seeing them as part of the same family. So we have the component view and the collective view. And the component and the collective are two sides. Now, unlike the positive and the negative for each of the other kinds of pairs, the three other kinds, we can't tell if both of these will be positive, both will be negative, or one will be positive and one will be negative. It's a very interesting area. Imagine, for example, let's do a little chart down here. I'm going to erase the original chart and put another one in its place, just as an example. Suppose we have two brothers, and you assign them elements. And one brother, here, he looks and sees, he's the big brother, BB. And there's a little brother. Now the big brother sees the little brother as being down here. And he says, he's always following me around like a puppy dog, little brother. He's always following me around, and he's a tag-along, and he won't let me be with my friends, and he's a big pest, and it's a negative dependency. Okay? Now, from the little brother's perspective, little brother sees himself over here as a companion, an equal. And he says, we're the best of buddies. I really am happy to go everywhere my big brother goes, and he's happy to have me with him. We're pals. Okay? So, on the one hand, we have the big brother's negative feeling and the little brother's positive feeling. Now, what happens when you have those two feelings? You just simply finish the triangle, the dramatic triangle. And what you get is positive times negative equals negative. And so you end up with a negative of the third kind of pair. We had a negative dependency times a positive companion, as seen by the little brother, and we ended up with a negative dynamic, meaning that these two guys are always going to fight, and they're going to tear each other down. Nothing good's going to come out of it. But here's where this other kind of pair relationship that we talked about comes into play. Depending on whether they see their family life as being positive or negative, that's going to determine what effect this will have if an outside enemy, a bully, comes in and picks on the little brother. If they see their relationship, family relationship, as being a negative one, then when the bully comes in, I'll put bully here, and bully comes in and picks on the little brother, then they're going to see the family as negative, and even though this is negative, they have a negative fight between them all the time, the negative family feeling up here, negative times negative equals double negative. Now that's not math. Negative times negative in math is supposed to be a positive, but in dramatics, when you get into this fourth area, you get into a realm where a negative times a negative can equal a double negative. But if they see the family relationship as positive, so that their family is a good thing, then if the bully attacks the little brother, even though they have a negative relationship between them, a negative times a positive equals a positive. Isn't that interesting? A negative times a positive equals a positive, because now the big brother is going to rush to the aid of his little brother, because family is more important than internal skirmishes. Now, when we were coming up with Dramatica, just for your information, I won't touch on this too much, but when we were coming up with Dramatica, what we did was we started finding trigonometric functions in here. Quads have quadrants, and you start being able to look at triangles, and you look at sine waves and cosines, and in fact, the different kinds of relationships, the horizontal and the vertical and the dynamic, all represent sine and cosine, positive and negative, secant, cosecant, tangent, cotangent, if you know anything about trigonometry. We went into this realm, which didn't follow trigonometry, and this is the realm where you can't violate the definition of a function in math. It's the realm where you end up with the imaginary number that doesn't make sense in the real number world. But it makes sense in Dramatica because you can imagine it in your mind, and it's part of what makes our minds magical, is the fact that it can't be mathematically described. So we started working on a new kind of math called quadranometry that allowed numbers like the square root of -1 to exist as a real number. Now, no more about math, but just for you mathematicians out there, that's how it works, if you'd like to try and describe it mathematically. And it's just an introduction to the fact that future versions of Dramatica will allow you to chart out character relationships, not just by seeing basically how they are, but in terms of positives and negatives, and to be able to actually predict how characters will relate, even when they run into these situations. Now, why are these situations so unlike the math that we usually deal with? We have the United States, right? United States. So what are we, United or States? Well, we're always trying to figure it out. Sometimes they said, we are the United States of America, and then later it was changed to, this is the United States of America, a slight different change. Whether we see ourselves as states sometimes with individual states' rights, or see ourselves united as a country other times, it's just like individuals in a family who are struggling to be individuals and also feel that they are part of the family unit. And there's a conflict between the two all the time, because this is the one area that falls out of our understanding of logistics and runs into our emotions. And it's in your emotions where you'll find that math breaks down and a new math is needed to describe the impact of emotions on logic. Dramatica is set up very logically so that you can get specific answers where your intuition fails you. But another version of Dramatica in the future will be set up emotionally so that where your logic fails you, you can have the emotional side make your choices and have it predict what logistically must happen instead.